Welcome, dear friends, at Integral Body Institute today live. I have very special guest. She is a dear friend of mine, and she's also a Tantric Master. Her name is Ma Ananda Sarita. And before I invite Sarita for our today's talk about awakening inner ecstasy, I will just read her bio. So Sarita is a Tantra Master who received a direct transmission from Osho. She lived in Osho community from 1973 to 1999, experiencing powerful transformation through meditation and Tantra. Sarita has been teaching meditation, Tantra, and holistic health since 1990. She's an author of 2 books, numerous online courses, and meditation CDs. She teaches 7 levels for couples: the Tantra Mystic Massage Training, Tantra Essence Teachers Training, Goddess Essence Teachers Training, Tantra Transformation Process, Vigyan Bhairav Tantra Retreat, and Master Lover Group. So let me invite you. It's amazing being here with us today. Welcome, Sarita.
Hello.
Hello. Great to have you with us. You are in Bali, so 7 hours ahead. How are you today?
I'm very good. I'm going through an Ayurveda Panchakarma retreat. So this is the 10th day. And so I'm very much in my process of meditation, yoga, cleansing, healing, and wellness. It's a rejuvenation process for 28 days.
Great. I was always inspired, since I know you, about your path and your journey with Osho, because you spent with Osho 26 years. So maybe we could start. How was this path for you, and what was your own story from moving from misery and trauma to bliss? Because I know you for many years, and I know every time I'm around you, there is this radiance of joy and bliss. And so how was your transformation in this lifetime?
I think that all of us are, in a sense, like butterflies, that we emerge from the chrysalis and we learn how to spread our wings and to fly. And this is the journey of life, isn't it? That we are learning to follow our bliss into true fulfillment of who we can be. So my journey was very challenging. In my childhood, I was raised in a very poor family. We didn't have enough to eat. I was also sexually abused when I was a child. I was from a large family, so the conditions were very crowded and very unpleasant kind of house, I could say, that I was raised in. So I basically couldn't wait to escape from there. That was one thing. But another thing is I had a very powerful spiritual calling. My family was not religious. They were actually atheist or agnostic. So I didn't have any kind of spiritual or religious conditioning when I was growing up, in the sense of being indoctrinated into some religion. But I myself had a very powerful calling. From the age of 4, I determined that I want to find the essence of life. And I was looking around and trying to figure out if people had recognized that, adults had recognized that. And what I saw was that around the age of 18, that people would fall asleep. This is how my child mind categorized it, that they went through some kind of strange hypnotic trance, and that they would fall asleep and then it looked like they would never wake up again, and they would start living a sleepwalker or zombie life. And I determined that I'm not going to fall asleep. I am going to stay awake and I will find the essence of life. So this became a very, very powerful urge in me, and I felt it was quite urgent also. Therefore, I left my parents' home when I was 12. I left my hometown when I was 15. And because I came from a family without any money, I just dove into life, embraced it fully, and I started my journey. And because I didn't have financial means, I literally hitchhiked all through North America. Then I took one flight to London. And then from there, I hitchhiked all through Europe and subsequently overland to India. And once I was in India, I continued hitchhiking or taking third class trains, whatever I could manage. And I found my way to Vipassana meditation through the teacher Goenka. So I met him in Bodh Gaya. I did a 10-day Vipassana retreat. And then I went to Mumbai to do a month-long Vipassana retreat. And that's where I met Osho. And that completely transformed my life. That was really such a powerful meeting. And subsequently, I just remained with him. I stayed in his community for 26 years. So that's basically my story from misery to bliss. And it happened because I had the courage or the foolishness to follow my urge, to follow the still small voice of my heart, because my heart was telling me, go to India. And I followed that call, even though it was very risky. And I remember when I was a teenager, multiple people told me, before you start chasing that dream that you have to find the essence of life, to travel and to search, you should first go to school, then you have to get a job, then get married, then have children. And eventually, when you're retiring, if you still have this dream, that's the time to follow it. And so I said to these people when I was just a young teenager, I said, okay, I'm going to reverse what you are saying. First, I'm going to follow my dream. And then if I have time later on, I will complete your list. But I'm not going to do it the way that you are suggesting, because I see that that leads to a zombie life. And who's to say if I will make it to that age of retirement to then follow my dream? So this is the wrong way around, I told them. And so being a stubborn Taurus, I followed my inner calling and I found great nectar, great nectar.
When we were discussing about this podcast, awakening inner ecstasy, what touched me that you mentioned that everybody has a birthright for inner ecstasy, and sometimes we somehow cut off from that bliss, from that ecstasy. So I would like to ask you a question. What is the reason why we get into this loop of misery, trauma, and what is the portal, how we can get into the ecstasy? What is your trick? What is your way?
So I'd like to come straight to the point with this because I think it's very important. And in order to understand this, I just want to tell a story, a true story from Osho. Because once someone asked Osho, how did you become enlightened at such a young age? Because Osho became enlightened at the age of 21. And of course, this is very surprising because normally we think, oh my God, to get enlightened, that might take lifetimes and, maybe at least the whole life working on yourself to reach there. And Osho gave a very surprising answer. He said, I simply asked all the voices that were not mine to go, and I was left with my own innate being. And then he proceeded to give a technique to achieve this. Now, this technique is something that everybody can do at home. I'm not saying you have to do it now during the call, but it is a very simple technique, and I'm going to say it. Basically, Tantra is a collection of methods, and these methods are passed from somebody who's experienced them, the master, to somebody who is willing to experiment with them, the disciple or the student. So this method Osho was indicating is that you find out where you are holding any tension in your body or in your psyche. You link it, if it's from the psyche or from your emotions, you link it to the body. You find out where that is in your body. And then you go inside this area and you find out whose voice is there, somebody's voice that is not you. And what is that voice saying to you? Once you've isolated who is the voice, what is it saying, then you say, thank you for sharing. But this message that you're giving me is no longer serving me, and you can go. And then you need to witness inside of yourself how this person is leaving your body, your system. And once you see that they have gone, then you bring inside of yourself, in that empty space which is there, you bring what is in tune with your true essence, whatever that is. So this is a very, very powerful method. And sometimes when you say to the person, you can go, they don't actually completely go. Like, you know, they lurk around. It looks like they're just waiting for the chance to jump back inside of you. So
Yes.
sometimes you need to actually shout and say, go now. And maybe you need to kick and scream a little bit and throw them out. And sometimes the person themselves is reluctant to ask this person to go because they feel bad. Maybe it's the mother or father, and they say, oh my God, but if I ask my mother or father to go, that's so disrespectful because they've given me life. But it's good to understand that when you ask this person to go, in reality, you're simply asking their neurotic pattern to go. That part of them which is not actually true. Maybe they got it from their ancestors. These ancestral patterns are passed down over generations. And in reality, they serve nothing at all. They're not helping a person to open to their true potential. They're just inhibiting the flow because it comes from incomplete issues that have not been fully lived. And so when you do this method, you can literally release anything that's holding you back from being yourself. And I've heard Osho say something else which is really profound, that what a master does is to remove that which is not you, leaving you with who you truly are. Now, I'd like to link what I'm saying to the phenomena of breath work and catharsis, which I know Nisarga is expert in, that in your school you also teach people breath work and
Yes.
emotional release work. And this ties in very profoundly with what I'm saying, and it also ties in with Tantra, that whatever is not ours, that doesn't really belong to us, we need to release it in some way or another. So I've just given you a more or less gentle method, which you can apply. But in many cases, people actually need very profound states of emotional release because emotions have been gathered from early childhood, maybe some incomplete issues, some trauma, some wounding, and we need to throw that out of our system. So doing breath work and emotional fluidity work is very, very helpful for that. And I've traveled this path very profoundly. For example, I did Osho's dynamic meditation for a year and a half every day, and I went deeply into all my childhood traumas, released them, And this in turn helped me to discover the ever-flowing bliss, which is always there, which is the birthright of every human being.
Wow, I really love this conversation with these inner spaces in the body and letting those voices that doesn't belong to us, just letting it go. It sounds really, really powerful. But Sarita, what I would like to ask you also is about Tantra. I know you entered the path of Tantra and meditation so early, at so early stage in your life, and you dedicated all your life to Tantra. I know you since 2009. I've been student of yours. Then I had a privilege and an honor to co-teach together Tantric Mystic Massage. We co-teach Master Lover group, I think, and so for me it was a big honor to do it together. And I know your perspective on Tantra is so wide, and I know in general Tantra has a lot of misconceptions. So if you could give some more understanding to our audience what really Tantra is from your view, and how we can incorporate Tantra into daily life.
So there is a short version I can speak about Tantra. There's also, of course, a longer version. I could speak for hours and days on this subject, as you know, but I'll just give a short version. Tantra, I'll speak about the word Tantra because I think that's very helpful. The word Tantra comes from Sanskrit and it has a few different meanings, as every word in Sanskrit does. Sanskrit is a very rich language and the meanings are very powerful, very profound. So one of the meanings is methods of transformation. Tantra is based on methods of meditation, actually. So anytime when you're looking for Tantra, if it does not include meditation, it is not authentic Tantra. So it's good to be very clear about that. Another meaning of the word Tantra is to weave. When we weave together a cloth, we have vertical threads, we have horizontal threads. They are woven together to make the wholeness of cloth. The vertical stands for the spiritual aspect within us. The horizontal stands for our more animalistic nature, and human beings are made of both. So in Tantra, we are weaving together opposite polarities. Now, traveling the path of Tantra and practicing Tantra meditation, I found out something very interesting, that when we bring any two opposites together, in that meeting, we will have an experience of the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is, of course, that oneness which is behind duality. So as we bring two opposites together, an alchemical transformation takes place, and we will merge into that oneness beyond duality or behind duality. So this is another meaning of the word Tantra, to weave. And so Tantra will play a lot with polarities, whether that is sex and spirit, male and female, birth and death. All different opposite polarities can become a catalyst to enter into the state of oneness. There's another meaning to the word Tantra, transformation of poison into nectar. And I think many people listening to this would have understood about Lord Shiva and his blue color and his blue throat. He is colored blue because actually he had drunk poison, the poison of the world, and he's transforming it. And this is what Tantra does. You can take any kind of element in life which normally people would think of as poisonous or destructive or challenging, difficult. Let's take anger as an example. You apply the witnessing consciousness of meditation to this phenomena, and automatically it will be transformed into its divine potential just by applying a process of meditative consciousness to it. Now, in the case of anger, if we make anger into a meditation, what will happen is that we will discover our original spontaneity that was hidden behind the anger. We become angry because we have something within us that wants to move spontaneously, but it gets repressed, and then that will come into feeling angry. So, like that, everything that is considered a poison in life actually is a portal into something else, its fuller potential of what it can be. And Tantra offers us that possibility. Now, I'm aware, of course, that many people think of Tantra as simply about sex. They think, okay, it's about sexual orgies, licentiousness, maybe polyamory. This is the common belief around Tantra. But this is simply not true. This is erroneous. Of course, Tantra will include our sexual energy, but it's not only about sex. If anything, it is about working with our sexual energy and bringing it into a state of super consciousness. And this is possible utilizing the chakra system, Kundalini energy, and opening up flow and aliveness in our body, opening up breath, movement, and sound. And through these streams of energy, we will gradually awaken into our more potent power and potential for bliss and inner ecstasy, because we are actually designed to be blissful beings. There is a wonderful book which is called The Molecules of Emotion. This is by a woman named Candace Pert. She's a scientist. She did research on the connection between body, mind, and emotions. And she found out that the human being is hardwired for bliss. We are made to be blissful, to have currents of energy running through us, what I call the tantric circle, which are innately bliss. And if we are not in a state of bliss, we will tend to seek for it vicariously outside of ourselves. So that's how people get into substance abuse. You know, maybe they turn to alcohol or drugs or something which can somehow bring them an echo of that feeling of well-being and bliss. Of course, they're not going to find it through external substances. We have an entire pharmacy within us, and all we need to do is tap into that inner pharmacy through methods of tantric meditation, and we will unleash a cascade of feel-good hormones, feel-good chemicals, which are helping us to open into that innate potential for bliss.
Beautiful. What an amazing description of Tantra. I really, really love it. I'm happy we're recording this because it's an amazing definition, so we can come back to it. How we can stop what really stop us from living this inner ecstasy, and what advice or what tools would you give to somebody who, let's say, is in a state of depression? There's so many now, especially now, cases around the world with COVID, with Corona, that I catch myself also living even now in Greece, in a beautiful place, and not having really reason to be afraid of, but connecting to this collective fear, connecting to this collective kind of depression, unknown, insecurity. I must say that it's sometimes difficult to be in that state of inner ecstasy, because the world, of course, has two sides. There's one side when it's really ecstatic and joyful, and there's so much beautiful beauty in the world, and then there's this side when things are really also dark side, you know, of the spectrum. So what would you say to those people, and how would you help? What advice would you give about how to come out of that space of fear and how to be with the bliss, how to be with the ecstasy without pushing it away, but acknowledging also reality of the situation, you know?
So I'm going to give you a little map, which might be helpful. In this map, you have, if you can imagine, two columns. Maybe imagine a paper, and then it has a line down the middle, and there's two columns. On one column, you have fear. The other column, you have love. Fear and love are opposites.
Yeah.
If you are in a state of fear, it's very difficult to feel love. Just think about it.
Yeah.
If you are in a state of lovingness, it's very difficult to feel fear. When we are in a state of fear, it leads to the next thing on that list, of that column, which will be protection. It leads to the fight or flight syndrome. So either you're going to defend yourself to protect, or you're going to flee. So it leads to that state of protectiveness. And then if we keep on going deeper into that energy, it can lead into shock, where you actually literally close down, and into a state of trauma, where you are living in a traumatized way. Now, some people have had some kind of fearful trauma that happened in their life, and they literally get locked into that, and they can't get out of it anymore. They're just in that state all the time. So they are in the state of fight or flight all the time. That leads to tremendous stress. It affects our whole body system, and it can even lead to disease. Now let's go to the other column, love. So love leads to a state of openness. If you look at somebody who's in love, their pupils are getting dilated. They're
Yeah.
completely open in a state of wonder towards life. So love leads to openness, and that in turn leads to a state of wonder, a state of joy, and a state eventually of inner ecstasy. If we choose to live in fear, we are choosing a closed down, locked down life. And it ultimately is a choice. Now, I know a lot of people will think in this situation we don't have any choice. One thing you always have a choice to do is to move your energy. So I'm going to tell you how to get out of that fear and lockdown state inside. Basically, you need to release the trauma. They've found in studies that animals who have been traumatized, what they do is they tremble. They tremble, looking like uncontrollable. They shake, 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 and finally they shake off the trauma, and then they run away, and they just are their normal selves again. So when we are in that state of fear, lockdown, trauma kind of situation, we need to shake, we need to maybe scream, we might need to roll around and basically move our energy. And another thing that helps is really feeling the fear as totally as you possibly can. Don't repress it. Feel it, feel it, feel it, right? Totally. Be in it, and exaggerate it. Feel it as a form of meditation. And then you'll find when you go into it totally, you feel it, and you shake and you release. At some point, automatically, you will simply pop into love, because fear is a temporary kind of state of being. It's only there it's there for us when we need it. If we're being attacked or something by a wild animal, of course we need that adrenaline boost so that we can go into fight or flight. But we're not designed to be in that state all the time. So the moment you release it, then you will simply pop into love, and you will start feeling open, and then you simply nurture that openness. And again, a good way to nurture that openness is to move the energy. And one of the ways that love enjoys to move is empathy. Empathy with others. Like if you're feeling depressed, one of the best things you can do is to do something for others. Like give somebody a gift, send a love letter, um, do some random act of loving kindness. So you are moving that energy through your system. You're allowing love to breathe, to take space, to move, and to open. And so, uh, another thing I'd like to say about depression is actually when we are living in a state of fear, of going deeper inside of ourselves. When people are depressed, they get depressed because they're afraid of death. And the more they're afraid of death, the more they will go into a loop of depression, going down, feeling the depression, then not liking that, so popping back up to the surface, and again going into that loop, depression, and again popping up. So it goes like that. The way to cure deep depression is to go down, all the way down to the very bottom of it. And that is best achieved through meditation. Because when you're in a state of meditation, you are letting go deeper and deeper into void space, beyond mind, beyond time. And when you go into that space, automatically you will start connecting to your soul. And the soul is unlimited. So you will start dropping into an unlimited spaciousness that is within. And this brings inner wisdom, peace, and an expansive quality of your being. And ultimately, it will lead into bliss. It will take you into bliss. So there are ways to go about that. And I can highly recommend a book that you can study and you can do the practices in that. It's called Freedom Is by Brandon Bays. So she's describing a method that you can do to drop down through the layers of your emotional state all the way into the void, which is where you will find your soul. This is a very powerful method. So I'm giving you two different possibilities here, and you can use the one that resonates for you. And of course, connection is very important because we human beings have been designed to be empathic. So if you remove us from our empathy, from our connection with others, that will lead to a state of depression because it's not natural. It means you're going against your true nature. We need to be in a situation where we are moving our energy with others. We're not meant to be isolated. We are not meant to be islands. We are meant to be together as a tribe, as a community.
Amazing, amazing. So, I really resonate with all those advices. The way I would summarize is meditation that helps us to just feel what's present, then going deeper into that state of fear and expressing it, moving the energy. And sometimes I know for myself that this is the moment when we can decide, because that freeze state is sometimes immobilizing us to move. And it takes a little bit of self-awareness to know, okay, I'm in the state of freeze, and to come out of this freeze, I have to do something. And you mentioned about shaking. For me, what works sometimes running or going for a walk, or screaming in the forest, but some sort of movement that can really mobilize us from that parasympathetic freeze, just to move our energy. And I think this is so crucial, to catch ourselves when that freeze happens and move into energetical flow. And I think that energetical flow is what you mean by bliss and ecstasy.
Yes, when energy is flowing in the body, it is actually delight.
Mm,
When energy is stagnating, it is misery. It's as simple as that, actually.
Very beautiful, very beautiful. So for the last closure of our talk, would you be willing to guide us into some short meditation or process where we can connect with the topic of inner ecstasy? So that would be really delightful to have your guidance.
So, I think we can, because we've been talking a lot about moving our energy
Yeah.
and how energy is delight. So, and about how to release those voices that are not yours, how to release the trauma from within. And so I think one of the very good methods for that is gibberish meditation, where you're moving the mental energy but also the physical energy. And so we'll do very shortly gibberish and silence just to get a taste of it. Now, this meditation has been given to us by Osho. He calls it no mind meditation. And usually we would do approximately half an hour of gibberish and half an hour of silence. And so we will do a very short version. Just think of anything that might be sitting on your energy, whether it's an emotion, maybe it's a physical tension, maybe there's some anxiety, depression, whatever it is, doesn't matter. We're going to move it out of our system by moving our body and making nonsense sounds. That means any language you do not know. And you can play with it, you can have fun with it. So let's start now.
All right.
And stop. And now just go into silence. Close your eyes. Sit, if possible, with a straight back. Be very aware, witnessing your body, mind, and emotions. Just being present within. Very good. And as we come back, I'm going to just say Om 3 times. And I'd like to offer a namaste. Namaste is such a beautiful gesture, meaning I bow down to the divine within you. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you, Sarita, for joining us for this live at Integral Body Institute. I really appreciate seeing you in such a good, blissful, shining state during your Panchakarma detox. And I wish to see you also soon, maybe in Bali next year.